Hello everybody, it's Dean here and we are here for our Maverick Live and I'm wearing a t-shirt. It's freezing here in December. I saw somebody literally skid down the road or fall off their bike this morning and literally slide down the road. It's freezing. So you're joining us today because we're going to be talking about sales. I've got Vasco with me, socially distant of course. And we're going to be talking about what is the most fundamental thing that you need to be doing in sales to improve your performance and get more conversations. That is what makes sales happen if you don't have conversations yet, Vasco.
Well, you know, normally when I come to these things, and I think most of us are slightly nervous of what we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
But this, I'm so passionate about this that I really wanted to talk about. We have to go.
So Vasco, conversations are the most important thing. Yeah. What is the number one thing you see people doing that stops them having conversations?
Well, I think most people, I think we have to go slightly back because there's the old way of doing sales, and people, you know, through the ages have done the same type of sales for as long as we can remember. All of a sudden, there's a new world out there. You can't visit, you can't go to
Vasco,
trade shows.
The internet's been around for a long while.
Yeah, but I haven't been using it because people, you know, still think about the knocking.
You're talking about that thing that we can't talk about because of YouTube's algorithm and because of social media's rules about talking about particular issue that's going on right now. Something 19. Because of that, it's obviously affected the way people sell. In that, people are working from home, so direct dials aren't being answered, business lines, they're passing messages on by email and saying they'll call you back. It's quite difficult to get in front of or get a conversation by phone cold at the moment.
And in a way, it goes against the nature of salespeople because they've got it into their DNA that they have to knock on doors, visit the client, and now all of a sudden they have to do two things which they aren't very much used to, which is get a conversation started with clients, nurture them, and then work on that. Mm-hmm. And that's become very, very difficult for them. Mm-hmm. And this is where they should concentrate. And in fact, this is a great day to be doing this, simply because we've come up with the Maverick method.
Yeah. So one of the things that we show people, which I think is valid for anybody, whether you've done our programs or not, is that you've got to get that two-way conversation going. And just before today's session, I was actually talking to a business development manager for a financial services company, actually, large financial services company in serving Eastern Europe. And we were talking about what's the best way to get a conversation going. And I said, the prep work that you do before, and I don't mean research, I mean the prep work you do before that you start the conversation can actually determine whether you have one of those formal, can I speak to you about this thing, or whether your conversation is more like a WhatsApp chat.
Yeah.
And I said to this business development manager, what you need to do is pivot the way you're doing things so that your sales team, so that you can actually have a conversation that feels more organic and feels more natural. And that is the problem that salespeople have, is to go online and be natural, and to create a conversation that seems and looks natural. They're more into the spray and pray sort of messaging. They are more into the connect and pitch sort of thing. They forget that they need to create a relationship like they did physically. Yeah. They need to do it now digitally. So let me just chip in here, because maybe some people, if you're watching us here and you can see the chat, maybe contribute into this. Because I'd love to, there's sometimes we just get this wrong thinking in our heads. So let's think about a sale. You're trying to talk to a prospect and you want a conversation. Which do you do?
Do you try to create the conversation first, or do you try to get people to consider what you've got to offer first? Now, I would preach from the rooftops that you should be trying to get a conversation before you try to get consideration. So it's conversation before consideration. What does that mean in practicalities? Well, let's look at LinkedIn. You go on LinkedIn, people send you a message and say, this is what I do, blah, 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 worth a chat. Yeah? Consideration before conversation. Whereas what I'd advocate is actually doing it the other way around. Get the conversation going. You're big enough and old enough and grown up enough and clever enough to figure out whether this customer has potential need for your product or service. And if you don't know whether somebody has a need for your product or service, you need to do some research and understand your product better. So that's the first thing. Understand your product and then go conversation before consideration. What happens with conversation versus consideration? If you're going for consideration first, people will evaluate your message if they even read it, because we're all inundated with these messages. They will read it, go, not relevant to me, move on. Whereas pretty much most salespeople will say, I'm going on a rant here now, sorry Vasco. Pretty much most salespeople will say, if I can get a conversation with the person, I know they'll get it.
But the thing is, when you start this conversation, what in fact you're doing is creating a relationship.
Yeah.
And people buy from people they relate to, which they are friendly with, because it all seems much easier. Also, they'll be able to share with you their problems, their pain, so that you can approach them with the correct solution.
Yeah. So, people say about know, like, trust. Yeah. I would use awareness, relationship, belief. In other words, they have to be aware of who you are, what you offer, and a bit more detail about you. They have to have a relationship with you that they feel that they could work with you, they could trust you, they could, all that kind of stuff. And then they have to have a belief in your product, your service. Not only can you do it and achieve it, but you can do it and achieve it for them, which is a different thing. So you need those three things in place, but it's conversation first. Because if you don't get the conversation going, you're effectively saying, I'm going to let this prospect consider what I've got to offer without talking to me.
But you see, what are you saying makes total sense, especially to the salespeople that were doing sales normally and traditionally through face-to-face contacts. They started by creating a relationship with the other person before they came and show them what they could do for them. And online, it's the same thing. It's the same principle.
Yeah.
It's just that people are put off because of the way of nurturing is written. And a lot of people don't like to write.
It doesn't have to be written. I've done some audio messages on LinkedIn. I've done some video messages. In fact, I sent 2 video messages today. They work, but there's a...
It's a different method, isn't it?
Yeah, but there's the balance, isn't there? There's the steps here of, if you just send a video message to somebody you've not actually built up anything in any interaction with, it looks a bit weird. Do you know what I mean? If you got an audio messages are quite good on LinkedIn, because when you send them, people don't know what it says, so it creates that mystery.
But the thing is, every single salesperson knows since the beginning they started on their job is that you need to create a relationship with your prospect. That's the only way for you to get in and then do what we also say, expand.
Yeah, land and expand the relationship.
So you really need to do that. And this is all basis of what we call the Maverick method. And interesting enough, I've got a little piece of paper over here to read.
Oh my.
No, because on next Tuesday at 11 in the morning, we are doing a course, a workshop,
free workshop,
which is called Reinvent Your Sales, and how to transition your sales that you've got, the salespeople that you've got now, into a digital sales force that really works. And this is a course, I think you should attend. And at this moment, I believe that all salespeople are looking at 2 things. How do I go from how do I hit my targets? And how do I use my sales force in this new world? And this course is really for everyone that needs this. And just go into our Eventbrite page or into our company page, and you'll see the event there. Register and turn up on Tuesday.
Yeah, I think digital selling is here to stay, but I think there's a lot of stuff happening at the moment that you can play a numbers game. Yeah, people say it doesn't work, and I say it doesn't work, but I think what I need to be is straight and say, actually, spray and pray does work. Yeah, so it does work. It just doesn't work well enough. It doesn't work well enough.
But you see, the thing is, we teach a method of spray and pray that's different to the spray and pray of most people.
No, what I'm not meaning we advocate spray and spray. What I'm saying is, if you send 1,000 messages saying buy my stuff,
I get it.
Yeah, you will get 1, 2, or 3 people who are interested.
Yeah.
But if you think about this in terms of conversations and being more organic and being more relational in the way you do it, I know I'm giving you kind of high level conversation here, but when you do it, what ends up happening is you create, instead of going, well, I did it as an example for somebody yesterday. So I did it on screen for somebody yesterday, and I created a conversation with somebody in about 5 minutes, and I let them pick who it was. I said, anybody go through my LinkedIn, pick somebody, and we'll have a conversation right now, and we'll turn it to a sales call.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now I'm a totally crap cold caller. I'm terrified of cold calls. I'll be straight with you. My skin is too thin for cold calls.
In fact, I'm always telling you, become an Iberian.
So my skin's too thin for a cold call. So I've always learned I have to do things to warm things up so that it's more of a conversation with somebody I already know. And that's what I've always done. And so I did this real time, went and got a conversation going with somebody. They asked for a proposal based on what we talked about. I didn't even speak to the guy on this one. We actually did the whole thing through message. He wants a proposal, passed his email on to me to send it so we can catch up in a month's time.
But then there's another thing in which you have been doing without people knowing you're nurturing them through what you do on LinkedIn. They see you and all the things that you do day in, day out on LinkedIn. So you're not a stranger to them anymore. You've been nurturing them for ages. Yeah. And they know we made great deals already from people that have been just watching you for 2 or 3 years.
So I'll tell you a funny story, and then we'll wrap up in a second because I don't want to bore people on a Friday. We did a new client for us in December, and the way we got that client was because somebody used our sales methodology on them, and they said that was incredible the way you've got us from LinkedIn, got a meeting with us because we weren't in lockdown then, got a meeting with us and actually sold us organically. How did you do it? Because I'd love to show our sales team how you've done this. And then they passed our name on and they rang us up, and now we're showing their sales team how to do it. And I said about 5 minutes ago, 11 o'clock was it? Yeah, about 11 o'clock. I said to them, I'm looking forward to the guy who's terrified of making cold calls showing your team how they can have more warm calls.
Yeah.
And it's common sense stuff, but sometimes in the pressure of I've got to get sales, I've got to hit my numbers, we end up doing things that actually hinder our sales.
Desperation isn't a good ally.
I think it's pressure. I don't think it's desperation in the sense of everybody needs to hit numbers. That pressure's there. And I think often a lot of what we're doing is we're trying to find the person who's ready to buy.
That is true.
Yeah. Rather than, I teach this, and there's no time for this, is how can we turn somebody who has a problem into a buyer, even if they don't realize they need the product yet.
And the other thing is how to turn people, instead of you looking for them, it's them looking for you.
Yeah.
And finding you.
Yeah.
And LinkedIn is the perfect place to be on.
No, I've been doing it on Facebook too. So some of you be going, LinkedIn's B2B. Yeah, it is. But actually Facebook can be B2B. I'm not talking about ads, I'm not talking about pages. I've actually made sales off Facebook organically through conversations and through content. Yeah. Dead simple.
And this is why I think it's important for everyone on Tuesday to come and see this.
Yeah, come on Tuesday. It's free training, absolutely free. I might try and do a cheeky upsell on you, but you know, that's the way the world works these days. But the key thing I would get you to ponder: conversation before consideration. And if your conversations, or if you're trying to start conversations and your conversations look more like emails than they do WhatsApp chats, you're going wrong.
Yep, totally.
Basically. So we're going to wrap up. Luke will be shocked that I've done a 15-minute because bit of a what do they call it? Windbag sometimes. But have a great weekend. If we can help you, come to our free training. We've got free training on 2-3 times a week now. 2-3 times a week.
And Tuesday we got it twice.
Tuesday we got it twice. We've got LinkedIn lead generation on Tuesday evening, and we've got Reinvent Your Sales, which is more for B2B sales teams during the day.
And that's at 11.
11 o'clock. So go find them on our website, our company page, somewhere, Eventbrite. But have an awesome weekend. Stay safe and have a successful
have a great weekend.
month.
Yep.
Thanks, guys.
See you guys next week.